can't hear me, I'm using my earbuds here. But I've been reading a lot of news lately. Even my wife told me, she's like, "Baby, you haven't really been getting too much sleep lately." And I've like been reading the news, thinking about all sorts of things, um, just getting more educated, getting more well read. I'm now starting to read and listen to Chancellor Williams, the destruction, the destruction of a black civilization. I think I got the words kind of mixed up there, family, but nonetheless, really good book so far. Really breaking down some really good wisdom from one of our master teachers. And when we talk about master teachers, we're talking about Chancellor Williams, we're talking about Dick Gregory, Neely Fuller, John Henry Clark, Francis Cress Welsing, Malcolm X, Khalid Muhammad. We have a lot of master teachers even with us, still living today. I look at certain people within the black empowerment space like Professor Black Truth, Jason Black, Tariq Nasheed, Philip Scott to some degree. A lot of good people, Rizza Islam, a lot of good material, a lot of good works out there. Now, when we talk about these massive layoffs that these large corporations are having, and I told you guys last year, January, February sometime, that we are in a recession. We've been in a recession for a year. Now, some of the tenets, some of the tentacles, some of the pieces doesn't line up as a typical recession, but all the elements are there. I mean, if there's fire, there's smoke, and there's been a lot of fire ever since the pandemic, and we slowly went into a decline of the different pieces what makes up a pandemic. Now, as Terry was stating, yeah, they're not laying off the warehouse workers because they need them to work, but they're laying off a lot of managers. They're laying off a lot of people from different hubs. Don't forget that Whole Foods falls under Amazon, but thousands and thousands of people are getting laid off from Amazon and as well as Microsoft. Now, when we think about Microsoft, right, we're thinking about IT guys. We're thinking about people who write computer programming, right, computer scientists, computer data scientists, um, network managers and program managers, and all other sorts of people, right? Where do you think those jobs are going? A lot of those jobs, and if you notice, I haven't really been smoking on camera lately, family. I'm cutting back on the cigars. Don't worry. I'm going to get rid of them soon. I haven't bought any new cigars for 2023. I still got about 100 something left. I'm not throwing away my money. Hopefully, I don't catch cancer by then. But anyway, these jobs are being outsourced and quote unquote shipped overseas. I mean, they're just countries like India, the Philippines. These countries are taking up these large contracts with Microsoft and Amazon, and they're getting paid a fraction of what somebody in the U.S. will get paid. Let's take, for instance, an IT specialist in the U.S. Let's take Chicago, right? He's getting paid 150 to 180,000 dollars a year. They're taking that same job, ship it over to India, ship it over to the Philippines or some countries like that, and they're paying them $50,000. Now, in their country, they're living a great and wonderful life. But when you take, for instance, the cost of living in America, um, it's like apple and oranges, right? It's like dollars to cents, so to speak. Let's see. Terry says if they would have been laying off, we would have known about it by now. Essentially, see the way these corporations lay off people, family, is they kind of take a page out of Boeing's book. You guys know Boeing, right? Out of Washington State. They're known for laying off thousands of people each and every year, but they do them in sort of droves, 1,000 here, 1,000 there, so it doesn't make large market news. And that's essentially how they can go under the cover, so to speak, in order to lay off thousands and thousands of people. So this is how they kind of maneuver themselves in order to bypass mass media in order for the public to know. So this is how they essentially get a lot of things done. Okay. So this is what's being done. And so Amazon has finally came out and said, Microsoft has finally come out and said, that they're laying off thousands of people. And I believe this is very important because there's going to be a lot of people that lose their jobs, lose their homes, lose their way of living. And then that's going to increase the homelessness rate, right? We already have a huge problem in America with people being homeless. The only thing you have to do is go to any of the major cities and some of the small cities as well. But when you look at the amount of billions of dollars that we are essentially sending over to the Ukraine, billions of dollars, right? And my thing is, I'm not saying, well, I guess I am saying, you have to help your own before you help anybody else. We've had a homelessness problem in America for a very long time. I don't even want to put a number on it because it's been for a very long time. And so, in order to rectify that, you have to repair a group of people in order to decrease the homeless population, eradicate it on a very high level. But this is going to be a trickle down effect, okay? A trickle down effect. It just won't be Amazon. It just won't be Microsoft. Look for Google, okay? All the FANG stocks. You got Facebook, Apple, Google. There's some other ones that I'm probably missing. But looking for all of them to start laying off people of those jobs that really doesn't bring a high level revenue to their organizations. Okay? So with that being said, family, I didn't want to speak to you guys long. I'm actually on a business trip right now. So just keep that in mind. You should be safeguarding your investments. Okay? Now, when it comes to the investment piece, the way you compile and construct your investments, a lot of you should have already transferred some of your investment over to bonds. Also tips, okay? That's very, very important as well. Um, and as well, trust. Keeping your money in trust is very important because you're going to avoid a lot of taxes. You're going to avoid government fees and things of that nature. Let me see what you guys are saying here. All right. Hey, what's going on, Red Wine Entertainment? I see Terry in the room. Jermaine Anderson, thank you for moderating, sir. You know, the big question I have for you guys is, what are you guys doing to level up, right? Keeping your finance at a steady growth, even in a downturn market, even in a recession, right? The government won't come out and say it's a recession, but it's kind of like you got your wood, you got your gasoline, you got your matches. They lit the fire, but you don't see the smoke. The smoke is here, family. When you start looking at these large conglomerate businesses laying off thousands of people. So um, there's no way they can keep this under a veil. Okay, there's no way they can keep this under a veil. That's correct. That's correct. There's all these little small hustles, side hustles that you guys can do. I remember I became a notary, right? And then I wanted to be a sign and loan agent. But I didn't really get into it. It kind of wasn't my thing. You know, I'm more so, I want to kind of get out and look into, properties, something I can buy, hold, and rent. My wife even became a real estate agent for that very same reason. Terry said, put more money in your 401k and stop buying a lot of things. It's very tempting when you work there. Yeah, you have a good point with the 401ks, Terry, and we see that the stock market is starting to bounce back. We see that used car prices are starting to decrease. We see new car prices starting to decrease because they kind of ramped up the manufacture of semiconductors in Taiwan, because Taiwan is the leading number one manufacturer of semiconductors. Also, the U.S. has started an initiative to start making our own semiconductors, so that's going to drive down the price too. Anytime the whole supply and demand, we're going to come to a point where it's going to be a high supply and a low demand, which is going to actually help de-inflation to a certain degree. Ray One says, I have to find help with their taxes. Let me see here. I have to find help with taxes and assets, brother. You really have to find a really good CPA. I'm not a CPA. I actually, every 1 or 2 years I change my CPA. because they start slacking. They don't maximize my returns because at the end of the day, nobody wants to owe taxes, right? You can you can give up to charity without using an additional form. And one of the best forms of charity is actually giving your clothes, furniture to Goodwill. Goodwill gives you a receipt and a number that you can actually um, give away up to $4,999. As long as it's not $5,000, you don't need an additional tax form. They will give you that, and you can actually deduct that from your taxes. And it's probably things you don't even need or use anymore. A lot of things in your garage, a lot of things in your attic, a lot of things in your storage. So that will help deduct the amount of money that you may owe. So give the charity is always a good cause. A good cause. If you guys go to church, churches don't pay any taxes, but they do have tax forms where they will take the aggregate and the average of how much you pay for the entire year, give you that tax form, and I think it's in the sense of charity, and you can deduct that from your taxes as well. So, not paying taxes or more than what you should be paying is always a great deal. I'm no Trump supporter. I don't swing red. I don't swing white. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. But here's the thing: there's a lot of things you can learn from both sides. So when businessmen don't pay taxes, I learned how they don't pay taxes. And take for instance, Jeff Bezos. When he was the CEO and owner of Amazon, he's still the quote unquote owner. He get paid royalties, but anytime Amazon started to make profit, he would just build another building to keep Amazon in debt. Well, how did he get paid? He was an employee of Amazon. That's how he get paid, right? So there's all these tips and tricks that you can do in order to maximize your profit, so to speak. So, well, anyway, guys, that's all I have for you guys this evening. I'll speak to you guys on the next one. You guys have a good one. Peace.